So Rob, it's time for another soundbite on the sofa. One of the topics that we're going to discuss today is it's around going to business with people and some of the considerations that that need to be taken on board around that whole sort of management of expectations around working together with new people. Obviously, we've done it with CopperFox, and of course, we've done it perfectly. But there are sort of insights from this process that we've been through, but also through our wider better business network of people that have been through the same process. So, what are some of the key considerations that you think need to be taken into account when you're setting up a business from the sort of stakeholder perspective?
Yeah. Well, obviously, the more people that are involved in a concept that they want to commercialise, the more complicated it is, because you're dealing with different personalities, and they're often coming from different angles, and that's what needs to be managed early on. It's if you look at a typical small, medium-sized business with one owner, it's all about what that person wants, but you bring 3, 4 or a dozen people together that all have different skill sets that together make for a powerful team, then you've got to manage those expectations, like you say. That needs to be formalised early on in terms of a company structure, what that looks like, what the shareholding looks like. You've got to look at the individuals. What are they bringing to the table? Are they bringing expertise? Are they bringing money? Are they bringing time and energy? So those things need to be defined as to what their roles are. First of all, in helping to create the business, and then once the business is up and running, what are their roles going forward? Are they actively involved in the business? Should they actively be involved in the business? Do they have something of value for the business going forward? Or should they just be a silent partner, an investor, so to speak? So that needs to be ironed out really, really quickly, so that so everybody knows what their role is. There's clarity around that. So that comes down to a shareholders agreement. That comes down to a company constitution and how they should operate, and like I say, about the structure as well. And then it really needs to be treated like a project in terms of going from concept to reality, and it should be managed that way. And a bit like what we were talking about in the past about proper project management, there needs to be governance around that. So it's having a strategic plan. What are we trying to achieve here? What are we trying to create? What are the opportunities, etc., that are out there that we're trying to exploit, or they're trying to exploit, and how are we going to go about that? How much is it going to cost? What are the time frames? All that kind of stuff that comes into that strategic plan that then gets converted into a project plan. And somebody needs to take responsibility for that. Now, if they don't have the skill set to do that, then they need to bring somebody in that is going to properly manage that process. I've seen it in the past where a collective of people have brilliant idea, brilliant business concept, but they all think that they can do everything. They've not really assigned responsibility for certain tasks to individuals. They've done it via committee, and it slows down the process to a point where they actually don't achieve a hell of a lot in a fairly decent period of time.
Yeah, I mean, from my observation, time's finite, right? It's probably one of the most precious commodities that we've got, and and it's getting that sort of split between your business life and your personal life, and then in your business life, who are you working with, and how do you sort of assign those responsibilities so they're fair and equitable.
Yep.
Drawing from the sort of expertise that each other have. I mean, there's probably about 80% of the things that you and I could do that are the same, but it's working out how to do the other sort of 20. And whether we're the right people to do them or whether you bring in the sort of external expertise. You're absolutely right around documenting the shareholders agreement so that the expectations are sort of clear around who's going to contribute the expertise within certain parts of it, who's going to contribute the money, what the timelines are, what the triggers are for additional investment. What are your exit plans for leaving the business ultimately?
Absolutely.
We've talked about that loosely for CopperFox, but to have that sort of conversations that are frank and honest from the outset, so that there's really clear expectations. And
I think that's really important, because then you just get on with it. I think that those mechanisms help eliminate the personalities. There's always going to be personalities, and that's always going to be a complication when you've got multiple stakeholders involved in a business concept, trying to get that to actually become a business. But if you've got those boundaries and you've got those rules, I suppose, that people should be abiding by, then if somebody steps out of line, you've got a mechanism for dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've quoted this comment a couple of times with you around working with somebody being a professional marriage, right? And in my case, I've got my personal life. I've got two marriages which didn't go along the full distance, but there's learnings from that, and it's sort of very similar, the qualities that you've got in a good personal relationship need to be cut and paste into your business environment. So mutual respect, being able to give and take, equal give and take, being equally invested, and being able to sort of manoeuvre your way through conflict as it arises, because it does arise. Those are all really key things, and I mean, you can't document every scenario, but you do need to have some key like a framework for knowing that you can sort of work through conflict in a professional way, with a long-term view of doing what's best for the business.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with multiple stakeholders, everybody's going to have a different opinion, potentially. Hopefully everybody agrees that this is the pathway forward, but you've got to have an environment where you're encouraging people to voice their opinion. But you've also got, you can't have that consume the project. You've still got to have a mechanism, and that's where, whether it's an interim CEO type position where they take on board everybody's opinion, but some hard decisions need to be made about what's the best pathway forward. And if it's based on majority, then suck up and get on with it, because the ultimate aim is to make this conceptual type of idea into a successful business. And sometimes people misread that sort of situation, or are blinded by their own strong beliefs. That muddies the water, that slows the progress, and sometimes it could even destroy that whole business concept.
Yeah, that's true. So a couple of the key things are sort of around that shareholder agreement. For those that have an equity investment, for those that doesn't cover, having sort of a key sort of terms of reference around what the process is for making decision making. If we roll that forward to when the business is actually in the early stages of setup, I've done this with the clients that are very recently that you're aware of, around delegated and financial authority. Just going back to your earlier point, is that if every decision is made by committee, it effectively grinds the business to a halt, and it's not the right sort of solution for the business. So, the great thing about a delegated authority framework where you've got the key roles starting with the board and then the CEO and then the general managers and the people reporting into the CEO, it's having clarity around what they can do within their role.
Yep.
How far does the authority that's invested in the board of directors pass down through the CEO and down through the layers of the organisation? What can they and what can't they do in terms of key decisions around hiring, firing, committing the business? So that's a really key document. And it doesn't need to be that hard. I mean, I've done it for one client, as you know, and it's basically 2 A4 sides of paper. Key roles, these are the authorities you've got, and then the second piece is around the financial authority, which is what can you commit up to. So again, it's all around creating the right sort of environment, which is not grinding the business to a halt, but it ensures that the right rigour around decision making is made and passed down through the organisation.
And so that you've got individuals who have the expertise in that particular area just getting on with it and getting things done, because then you've got this governance process where they have to report back on what progress they're making, what issues that they're trying to deal with. That's when you can talk about what options you've got in terms of solving that. But otherwise it's about, you should have had this done by now. Where are we at? If we're there, tick. If we're not, what's complicating things? Why haven't we performed in this sort of space? And making these people accountable. That way you get things done and you're moving along.